Let me make this go live. Alright. We're live. Just checking if everything is fine here. Yes, all good. Alright. Here we are, here in San Francisco, and this is Adobe XD Weekly. Hey guys, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. I'm back to San Francisco, back to the XD team's floor here, and super happy. I'm not here with Lindsay today. She's in New York for 99U and customer visits, and but I have Kayla there checking for your questions. So if you have any question along the way, please let me know. This is really for you guys, and I'm really excited to be back now wearing this amazing Ramones Adobe XD huge t-shirt that I got from Jay. Thanks, Jay. Thanks for making all this cool stuff. Who knows, maybe we'll give it away as well, but pretty cool gear here for XD. First of all, please let me know where you're tuning in from, your country, your city, and then we can get started. Let me check if everything is fine here. It looks like it is. We have people joining. Alright, cool. Wonderful. Alright, so again, here we are. I'm live from San Francisco where the XD team sits. We have people working as we speak. Amazing engineers, amazing developer, like all the design team and everyone working super hard on XD, product managers. I was one of the first product managers working on XD, so it's really awesome to be back. I was on PTO, I was surfing in Mexico, but the good thing is while I was there, I was able to meet the community in Mexico, so thanks Mariana and Edgar and everyone who helped me there. So we had a very good community event in Mexico City, and it was great to interact with Latin America. So a couple good things also regarding Latin America. I'll be in Buenos Aires next week and Brazil next week as well for UXConf. So if you're in Argentina or Brazil and if you want to interact, just ping me on Twitter. For the ones tuning in now, my name is Demian Borba. I'm a strategic development manager working on XD, and I go live with Lindsay every Monday at 11 a.m. Pacific time to gather your questions, to talk about roadmap. Sometimes we do sneaks, sometimes we show a lot of good stuff there in XD that's coming up. We have a very good update coming up soon, and that's going to shake the design world in my opinion, and it's going to be awesome. And we're going to talk about that next week, a little bit more about that next week. So for now, here I am again looking for questions, and let me see if everything is good. Again, wonderful. Let me see if I have questions so far. Not really, not that many. Wonderful. And today I'm here to first of all say hi to you guys again, but most importantly, I'm here to talk about getting started with XD. So we do live streams every Monday, like I said, at 11 a.m. Pacific time, and we always focus on a specific feature. We always focus on a release that's coming up or a release that just happened, covering that specific feature. But I was thinking and talking to Lindsay and Kayla, I was like, we need some stream as well to do the basics of XD, right? We need to talk about, for the new users out there, for people starting to play with XD today, where do I start? What is this thing called Adobe XD? So today I want to talk about getting started with XD. I'll talk about the basics of XD, and everything you can do. I have a question here before I start. I just saw that when you unroll the new update, the only thing I can say is soon. It's very soon, and it's gonna be awesome. Again, it's gonna change things for a lot of people, and in a good way. That's all I can say. All right, there's another question here. Let's see. New release rulers fixed content. Yeah, so that is a great, like, two questions, right? One is rulers and the other one is fixed content. So we are working on fixed elements, and that will make a future release. It's looking great. It's gonna happen soon. It's looking really positive, and it's gonna help a lot of people to get fixed content as you scroll. So that's coming, and you know about that because if you go to adobeXD.uservoice.com, you can really see where the feature request is, and you can see that one is really there, and it's almost we are working on it. It's almost done, but there's a new update in May. As you know, every month we have a new update of XD coming up soon, and that one will have a couple changes here and there, and yeah, again, I'm really excited with that one. Every month there's a new update with very cool stuff. All right, so let me go back here, and let's get back to the stream. Let's get back to the story here. So first of all, when I do my talks, when I visit customers all over the world, I get questions all the time about why should I use XD, right? Why should I stop using the tool I'm using for design and then start using this new tool called Adobe XD? So just a little bit of context. XD started around 3 years ago when Adobe identified and confirmed that Photoshop and Illustrator were not initially designed for this new way of iterative design, right? You have to nowadays it's a lot more than just pushing pixels, right? You have to test with users, you have to make sure you validate your ideas as a prototype, as something, get feedback, go back, iterate. So there's this new way of designing called iterative design, and we got a lot of questions around that. So iterative design is really this process where you design something, like before you finish, before you send it to production, you really design something, you create a prototype, then you test, you get feedback, then you go back to your design, you iterate, you change your design, you change your prototype based on all the feedback. Then once everything's validated, everything's ready, then you send it to production. So it's almost like you're trying to fail as fast as possible to succeed as fast as possible. In XD, like on the XD team here, we do prototypes for pretty much every major feature, and we spend months and months just testing with users, fine-tuning the prototypes, changing the onboarding process, validating every single step. Then once everything is validated and confirmed, then we send it to the development team, and they really implement that. And of course, that doesn't end there, right? When it's shipped, we always have an opportunity to go back, and based on broader feedback, more people testing that, we can really change. And every month there's a new update, so that gives us room to make changes. And we do that all the time. For example, when we had the eyedropper in the property inspector at one point, when we added gradients, so in the beginning, the eyedropper was only here. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, you can see it here. Then, at one point, when we added gradients in the color picker, we moved it here. So I was able to get 2 color stops or more. I would be able to pick a color for this one, pick a color for another one. But then people were asking, like, oh, but if I'm just trying to get a solid color, why do I have to open the color picker, go there, and then select? So what we did based on that feedback, we added it back here. So now it is in 2 places. It is here and here based on that feedback. So this is the iterative design process in action. We spent months with prototypes, developers here, engineers here created it, made it happen, and then based on that feedback from the community, we made changes. So that's all that. So 2 things there that I mention every time I talk about why you should you use XD, right? Like, first of all, I think the best one, in my opinion, is that XD is the fastest UX design tool out there. So if you're designing websites like here or mobile versions of the same website, you can have thousands of artboards and things just work. So here I have an example just to prove I'm not lying. I have a desktop version of my website boosted websites here, like our friends at Boosted Boards, and I also have the same mobile version of that same website here on a separate artboard, and it has bitmaps, it has vectors, it has social media icons that are kind of complex, and you can see it has long artboards. I can select this guy and show like this is a vector, and it has a lot of anchor points and stuff. But what I want to highlight here is that once you have more artboards in XD, if I keep zooming out, of course this is not real, but I created lots and lots of artboards based on this design, and I can keep zooming out, zooming out, zooming out, and as you can see in this file I have 1500 artboards. Can you imagine that? Like a file that you can zoom in and out very fluidly with no problems whatsoever. Some apps don't even open a file like this, and XD is really fast, the fastest app for sure. So that's reason number one. Another reason that I always mention is file size. So to prove that concept, let me go here, and here I have a PSD file, and I got this from the Google Material Design website. So if you can go to the Material Design website and download the UI kit as PSD, as XD, and different apps. So here I downloaded that. It's a PSD, it has 85 megabytes, and XD can open Photoshop and Sketch files. So if you have that file there, I can go here, open. Let me select that PSD. I can now click to open this PSD. It will now bring all the PSD content from the Photoshop format into XD, and we'll convert everything that was a vector there to a vector here. You will, if a layer style is not supported there, you will try the best you can here to change that and flatten that image. But here you can see everything came perfectly, and again I can start changing text and all that, and this is a Photoshop file. If I save this, because I was mentioning about file size, if I save this file as an XD file now, just file save, and remember this file was 85 megabytes as a Photoshop file. Here when it's converted to an XD document, it became 1.5 megabytes. So two main reasons: performance and optimization in file size. So now you can send this file via Slack, via email, and start from there. And the other thing, like if you're using tools like Sketch, like I said, you can open Sketch files. You can go to File, Open, and let me go back a level here, and I will select that guy, Sketch, and then this is a Sketch file that I had from Joshua in Nigeria, very good design, and it just opens, right? So here I have that Sketch file that's now an XD document. All the symbols came through, so here I have all the symbols that were used there, and if I create more instances of the same symbol, and let's say I created 2 instances here, I want to reuse this, I can change the text, buy now or download now. So here I'm overriding the text of that same symbol, and I can override text and images and symbols. And the good thing is, if I need to edit this symbol, let's say I want to change the position or something, I can double click. Now I'm editing. Let me go back inside. I can edit this symbol. And one thing you notice, I'm not being taken to a specific mode where I lose context on my design. I'm here with the same design. Nothing is grayed out, so I can really focus on, okay, now I need to change my text, I need to change my symbol, and everything adapts, and I can see it in context. I'm not losing context. I'm not taken to a separate mode. So that's another very good thing. Let's see if I have a question here. Question: so you can actually design in XD just like Photoshop? That's a great question. You can make your designs in XD with vectors, with bitmaps, but every time you need more complex bitmap editing, like you need a very crazy effect, then you go to Photoshop, and you can, for example, copy and paste the content from Photoshop and paste into XD. You can save that as a PSD and open in XD, or you can use CC libraries. So in Photoshop and Illustrator, you can create Creative Cloud libraries. So you can have colors, and you can have text styles and images. And then in XD, you can consume that. So if I have let me just go back and exit this context. I can bring that image here, and then once I do that, let me just go back very quickly here. Once I do that, you can notice it's now linked. There's a link icon there on top left, meaning that if I right click here and say edit, this will open Photoshop because it's a bitmap and this asset was created in Photoshop. And then if I change this in Photoshop and I save, as soon as I do that, that change comes through this way. Of course, if I undo that and save, that's also here. So you can do that with bitmaps using Photoshop, and you can do that with vectors using Illustrator. So anytime you need more complex bitmaps or vectors, you go to these tools. You can bring them via Creative Cloud libraries, or in the case of Illustrator, you can just copy and paste. It comes as SVG, and then you can start editing in XD. Cool. So the idea is to use XD as a hub for UX design. So once you start using XD, one thing that I highly recommend is opening the tutorial. So this tutorial gives you all the basics you need. So it goes over telling the lead designer, awesome guy, the lead designer on Adobe XD, created this tutorial, and here it shows you how to draw an artboard, how to pick, in this case, a profile image. Here I have a shape, and if you have an image somewhere here in your Finder or even in the browser, you can just drag that from Finder into that shape. It now becomes the shape, the fill of the shape, and you can resize, and that never gets distorted. And then here you learn about the repeat grid tool, amazing tool for repeating elements. So every time you need to repeat elements, let's say here I need to create a list of results, I can select all the elements I want to repeat, then I click there on repeat grid, and then I just repeat the elements. And then if I need to adjust the padding, I don't have to remember how many times I hit shift to align. I just hover this pink line and I can adjust the padding. If I'm working on a tablet version, I can also do the horizontal version of this. And the repeat grid is really smart, so I can have unique content very easily like that. And I can explore variations of this design very, very quickly just by playing with this. And I can adjust size here. I can, in this case, make it bold. I can select these 3 elements. I can align them, center. So again, very easily, I'm exploring a new version of this. And let me center this, and I can make this bigger right there, and I can explore variations of it. I can also connect my phone via USB if I'm on a Mac, and all the changes I have will be previewed in real time there, so very easy to do. So again, make sure you go through the tutorial and you can learn a lot. So this is design mode. One thing you notice, I don't know if you noticed, but this is 100% contextual, so different than Photoshop and Illustrator. They're becoming more contextual, but here if I select an element, let's say I select this text, all I see is properties of that text here on the right. If I select a vector, I have properties of the vector here on the right. I have my design tools on the left, I have the property inspector on the right, and here I am in design mode. One thing that I suggest, if you click on this play button here, you can change things and see them in real time. So if I move this, I see that moving in real time. Again, if I have my USB cable connected to my phone, iOS or Android, all the changes that I have here using the XD app on iOS and Android, I see that in real time as well. And now I need to create a scrolling area. To do that, all I gotta do is select this guy, the artboard, by clicking on its title, and then increase the height of that artboard. Then what I need to do next on the property inspector is set this to vertical and set where my fold happens. In this case, my fold starts right here. I can adjust the fold position via canvas as well, and now this thing is scrolling. Very, very cool. Then the last thing is I can prototype, right? I can say I'm done with my design, I need to start prototyping. I can, if you're using tools today, you would have to export PNGs or use a plugin and then send it to a separate tool. In XD, all you gotta do to get started with prototyping after your design is done and you have a couple of artboards is move your mouse to the top and click here in prototype. That's it. Now I can start prototyping. So let's say from this artboard I want to go to this artboard, so just drag a wire. As soon as my user taps on that button, I want to go to this artboard, and this will be, I slide left, and if I play that to test, I can scroll all the way down and I can click here, and that second artboard will come here. And if I want to go back to that previous artboard, I can select this arrow and say, okay, the target here is my previous artboard. So if that artboard is being reached by different artboards, whatever the initial trigger was, in this case was this gear artboard, this will reverse that and slide to take me there. So this is a very good way for you to have one endpoint in multiple sources. So, and if you target the previous artboard, no matter what the source was, it will take you back to the right one right there. So as you saw, very easily I can create a prototype. If you're in prototype mode and you hit Command A, you see all the wires that make this artboard, this prototype. And if I start here, one thing you can see, this is the home artboard, and if I play, I can go from different areas here very easily. Cool. Once you're done with your prototype in this iterative design process, again, you did your design, you did your prototype, you can share to get feedback. So you can share this in different ways. The first one is by having the preview window open, have your home artboard, the initial artboard selected, then you can click here and start recording. Now all the actions that I take here are being recorded. So if I stop, now I get a movie. I can save this in my desktop to show you, and let's say I save that, then I can share this MP4 with anyone. So this is me interacting with that prototype, so I can share this via Slack, I can share this via email or place it in Dropbox, and I can share it in this way. The other way you can share is by creating a link where anyone, any stakeholder could access this link. So here I have my home artboard, it's set as a home, so if I have multiple flows, I can always share that specific flow by setting its home artboard. So here I can click on share and I will publish a prototype. I can give it a title, I can even add a password if I want to, then I can create a public link. So now all the necessary artboards are being uploaded to Creative Cloud, and once this is done, I'll get a link where I can share with people and my stakeholders. So let me open this link. It's going to launch in the browser, and that same exact interaction that I had running there will now be available here. So I can click, I can share this link. Every artboard has a unique URL, so you can really share. Let's say I have 200 artboards, you can share one specific one that would take the user to it. One thing that you notice here is that you can add feedback. Remember, getting feedback. I can sign in, or I can sign in as a guest. I'm already logged in Chrome, so let me open Chrome very quickly, and I will use that. And again, I got that URL, and I can say, please change this blue, and then I can click here. Oh, you're not seeing it. Let me move this to the side a little bit so that you can see. Wonderful. Let me just make this, oops, just trying to make this move to the top a little bit. Perfect. Now you can see. So here I have my browser. I can add a comment, and I can pin an item there to say, okay, I need to change this blue. So now I got this feedback. I get a notification. I get every time someone adds a comment to your prototype, you get an email as well. Of course, you can opt out, but here, based on that feedback, I can go back to my design and go back to design mode. And here I have this blue being used here. It's being used everywhere, right? And I need to change that based on that feedback. Imagine if I had to go one by one and change all that. In XD we have this assets panel that you can open by clicking here on the, again it's hard to see, let me make this higher so that you can see. Okay, on the bottom left, the assets panel. I also have the layers panel if you want to play with layers. But if I have the assets panel, I can select anything that has that blue and say, or the entire artboard, and say, XD, give me all the colors there are here. Now I got 2 shades of blue there, and let's say I want to change it to pink, right? I can then just right click here and say edit, and I will pick pink like that. Let's say it's that pink, it's changing that shade of blue, and I'll copy this, and I'll also change this one, right click edit, and I'll paste, it's that pink, and I will merge those 2 into one. And as you can see, it changed all the instances where that blue was. Imagine if you had to do all that. So now that I have that change made, I can come here and say publish. I can update or create a new link. I'll just update the existing one. Then I will go, once this is updated, I can go to that exact same link that we had before, refresh, or tell the team like, hey, the change is made, please take a look. Now I like that, awesome, thanks, and I add that comment, and as the owner here I can resolve this comment, so you can have whole threads of feedback there and go from there. So again, XD is really there for you to help you with this new way of designing, with this new way of iterating in design for apps or websites. So, and the last thing I want to show is that once you have your design ready for production, after everything is validated, you can select the same flow that you have, and you can share that as a design spec. So here's for the developer to really inspect everything that's there. So you have your measurements, you have your colors, all the things that are being used there. So let me copy this link. I'll place this in Chrome again because I was using that. So here I have the same. So any developer that has access to this set of artboards can now come here and see all the colors that are used here, all the fonts that are used and where they're used. And if I happen to select one element, I can see measurements. I can see, let me get one that has text. For example, this one has text. And if I hover all the elements, I can see the distance. And every time I click here on the right, I copy that content into memory. So in this case, I'm copying the text. If I click here, I copy the color code in hex. Here I can copy the font name, and really as a developer I can go there and just start pasting in my code and move fast. So that's really what XD does. You can design low fidelity, high fidelity designs. You can then quickly prototype. You can see that running on a phone, you can see that running on the preview window. Then you can share as a video, as a link, as a design spec to gather feedback there on the link, on the web prototype link, and then iterate. And as soon as you're happy with it, everything is validated, then you can create a design spec link, and you can send that to a developer for he or she to develop. Make sure that your app, your design is there. There's a lot more that you can do in XD. There's a lot of resources out there. I recorded videos for lynda.com and called Essential Training, and if you're interested, you can take a look. It's really helpful. I share everything that I know. We also have Elaine Chow here on the product team creating pro tips. So if you go to Twitter, you can find amazing tips from Elaine there. And there's a lot of resources out there. So if you have questions, if you have feedback, please keep sending us. We also have a place called User Voice. If you go to adobeXD.uservoice.com, you can suggest features and you can file bugs all there in one place. And yeah, I have a lot of questions there. I'll try to answer them in a bit via chat, but this is it. This is our live stream. I'm back here, super excited. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sending your questions. Please keep interacting with us using hashtag Adobe XD, and the entire team can see it. So all right, 30 minutes, we're done. Thanks a lot for your feedback, and stay tuned for more updates. Thanks guys, have a great day.